Hello everyone and welcome to this morning's NCVO webinar, which is delivered in partnership with one of our trusted suppliers, Zurich Insurance. I'm Nick, the Networks Manager here at NCVO, and in just a moment I'll be handing over to Aaron Banerjee, the Cyber Risk Consulting Lead at Zurich, who will be guiding us through today's webinar, Managing and Responding to Cyber Risks in 2023. But before I hand over to Aaron, there are just a couple of housekeeping points that I wanted to note. So you'll hopefully have noticed that closed captions or subtitles have been enabled and they'll be appearing on screen. To turn these on or off, please click on the CC icon in the toolbar at the bottom of the screen. To help with accessibility, the slides for today's event have just been shared in the chat as a PDF. So if it would help, you can download these and zoom in and out of the slides as we go along today. Today's webinar is being recorded, but everyone has joined us in view-only mode, so your cameras and your microphones are both automatically turned off. So the only people that you can see online today are myself and Aaron, and the two of us who will be presenting. Lots of people, I'm sure, will have questions that you'd like to put to our cyber risk expert, and we'll have time for a Q&A a little later on at around 10:45. If you do have questions, please submit these by clicking on the Q&A icon in the toolbar at the bottom of your screen. The questions that you submit will only be visible to Aaron and I, and we'll do our best to get through as many of them as possible in the time that we do have available. There won't be a break today, so if you need to step away from your computer for any reason, please feel free to do so. And we aren't expecting any alarms where we are, but do keep an ear out for them wherever you're joining us from. And finally, we'll send a follow-up email shortly after the webinar today with the full slide deck and a link to all the things that we mentioned. But as we go along, we will be posting the links in the chat over the next hour, so do keep an eye on that too. So without any further delay, to get the webinar started, I'm pleased now hand over to Aaron from Zurich Insurance.
Thank you, Nick. Can you hear me?
I can, yeah, perfect.
We just you cannot share your screen while the other part. Could you please stop sharing, Nick?
Yes, go for it.
Perfect. Thank you. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Hello, everyone, and very good morning, and thanks for joining this morning. And thank you, NCVO and Nick, for asking me to present again. I think this is my third or fourth engagement with NCVO, becoming a regular with NCVO now to talk about cyber. So everyone who have joined this morning, and if you have heard me before, so I am the Cyber Risk Consulting Lead for ZRS. So Zurich Resilience Solutions, I will talk about Zurich Resilience Solutions and at the end, but on a very high level, we are the risk engineering, the risk advisory division for Zurich Insurance. So we mainly do two things. We work with the cyber underwriters to provide underwriting assurance when they are pricing up a risk transfer. Our insurance, we help them to better understand the risk. That's one part of our job. And the second part of our job is to work with the client to help them get more insurable, help them get more cyber resilient. So provide cyber risk advisory services. So that's what the Zurich Resilience Service cyber practice does. And I lead the cyber practice for UK. It's a global function, so the other countries have other cyber risk engineer and cyber practices. I also have a different role. I chair the Global Risk Engineering Technical Center for Zurich. That's the global body of a representation of all the countries. I come from a public sector background, NHS background. I worked in NHS as cybersecurity manager and other IT infrastructure roles for about 9 years before I joined Zurich. That's in a nutshell about me. So today I'm going to talk about managing cyber risk. So the most important question to think about is, why are we managing cyber risk? So why is cyber risk so important? Is it for the fact some of our regulators are telling you need to think about the risk, or some of the peers are thinking about the risk, or the World Economic Forum in their global report every year coming up saying that in a short term, cyber risk is number 4, in a long term is number 8. So what is the main reason that we are looking into cyber risk? Okay, so first for that, let's look into the cyber threat horizon. Okay, so the most important question out here is, has the cyber risk increased or decreased post-pandemic? So the cyber risk, getting the risk of having a cyber attack or a data breach, has it increased or decreased post-pandemic? I'm sure every one of you is saying it has increased. Yeah. Like, as a risk professional, I will say it hasn't decreased or increased or decreased. Okay, your threats have changed, and it will increase or decrease based on you. If you manage to control the risk, if you have adequate controls in place for the new risk which you have bought by going digital, going to the cloud, having apps, having SaaS-based application, that's where your threat horizon has changed. Okay, but you have to control that risk. That's most important. What controls you have, how you have treated that risk. Insurance is one of the treatment, but insurance is heavily dependent on what you have done to reduce the residual risk. So let's look into the new normal. So post-pandemic, what are the new normals for us? First of all, remote working. We are working remotely. I'm at home, Nick is at home. I'm sure a lot of you are at home. So we don't need to go inside the office to work nowadays. We can work from anywhere. I can sit in a train and give the presentation. I can sit in a coffee shop and give the presentation. So virtual collaboration, that has increased significantly. So that's reality. So what is the threat that it has brought for every organization? We are becoming more and more vulnerable because cyber criminals are utilizing the fact we are dependent on that remote working infrastructure, and they are targeting the remote working infrastructure now. That is the reality. So Diligent, last year, they came up with the report which says that UK businesses has lost 374 million pounds in the last 18 months. This is January 2022 report. I couldn't find a report after that. But still, like, the main part of the pandemic where we implemented remote working, sometime in anger, we implemented remote working without going through proper testings or have the right process. We have lost significant amount of money due to cyber breaches. Along with that, the Charity Commission in 2022 October was saying that charities are at a risk of underestimating online fraud, as 1 in 8 experienced cybercrime last year. As we are going more online, we are doing more remote working. It's becoming a major threat for everyone to look into online fraud, look into what are the threats which is coming from or what are the risks which I'm being introduced into the business by having that remote working, that virtual collaboration. Okay, I will talk about what are the good treatments for it later. Okay, other things are cloud migration or digital transformation. That is part of everyone's agenda. Everyone is going to cloud, everyone is going for digital transformation, which can be, I need a new app on the mobile app, I need a new, I will have more cloud, I will put things in cloud. They are great. Okay, as I said, going to cloud doesn't decrease your risk. Okay, it brings new risk. How you treat the risk actually ends up telling you whether you have higher risk or lower risk. It's just new threats which are being introduced, new risks which are being introduced within your organization, within your business setup. Okay, you have to treat them properly. That's what's most important. So cloud migration, digital transformation. Another thing which we are seeing quite a lot is heavy reliance on third parties, supply chain. Supply chain is becoming such an important thing. So that's why these cloud environment, this supply chain environment, these are constantly being targeted by cyber criminals. Because, you know, when recently, when Royal Mail was under attack, the Royal Mail had a supply chain, had a problem, had a cyber attack. And every small, there was article in BBC, I'm sure, okay, which says that small organizations, they were under a lot of problem because Royal Mail was under attack. Because you are dependent on Royal Mail to send a lot of your parcels and stuff, okay, though you have no control over them. Okay, you don't have any control about their cybersecurity posture. So that's one of your supply chain, how much you are dependent on them. So if you cannot control them with technology, how do you have a business continuity plan in place? If Royal Mail is down, what will you do? Or other example of like Salvation Army was hit by a ransomware attack. Then you have like, remember when Black Bolt was under attack since a couple of years back. So there were more than 100 charities in UK who were under sort of attack when Black Bolt had a ransomware attack. So what is Black Bolt? It is a third-party product which you are paying money and you are taking the service. So when they are under attack, when the system is down, you are also down. You don't have the system. So that's why it's so important to understand your resilience, like how much reliant you are, or what is your dependency on these kind of third parties, which can be a direct dependency which you are getting by paying some money, which can, like the example of Black Bolt or example of other products, which can be Microsoft Teams, which can be, we are using Zoom. If you are dependent on Zoom and suddenly Zoom is down, can we have the meeting today? So think about that. Then it's very important to have your business continuity plan for that, or even your incident response plan for that. Again, I will talk about it. Other things which we get to see quite a lot is wider use of social media. So social media is part of everything nowadays. LinkedIn, Twitter, everyone talks about how we do comms in Twitter. In Facebook, we are in Facebook. And also for charities, yeah, I'm sure you will agree with me that ratings matters a lot for your charities. Okay, and those are online presence for you. If someone compromises that rating, or someone goes and change your Twitter, hacks your Twitter account and change that, hacks your Facebook page and change that, that can have a significant impact. There was this Jewish charity whose social media was compromised and someone changed their homepage. Okay, so there has been attacks on social media for charity, and also they can act as your supply chain also, because when Facebook was down, what is the impact? You cannot do social media. You have to think about the other secondary impacts of it. Because, you know, we use Facebook, we use these kind of a platform sometimes to do more authentication. When you go for even online shopping, and in a lot of places you get these Facebooks or Google as like an authentication mechanism. So if Facebook is down, your users cannot authenticate into that systems. How much control you have on Facebook? So those kind of a thing you have to understand. And along with like going social or having social media, going online, we are producing huge amount of sensitive data. Like every comment we make in a social media, every post we do, that creates more and more data. And when you interpret data, it becomes information about you, me, and everyone. These informations are expensive. Okay, in 2017, the Economics magazine came up with a cover page which says, I think, world's most expensive resource. It's no more oil, it's data. Data is the most expensive resource in the world right now. And we have seen good examples from Cambridge Analytica, and there have been so many other examples of how your data can be used to even manipulate your decisions. And along with that, you have to also think about how can your data be used in with a malicious intent, or sometimes even if it is not malicious, the secondary impact can be really bad. So a couple of examples are Instagram was fined 405 million euros for violating kids' privacy. Okay, so that's a huge fine was put on Instagram. There are some children's apps which is likely to track your children's. So if some charity is working with children, or even your own children, if we give them tablets, we give them phone. I know, like even my son has a tablet which he uses. Okay, but are those tracking him? Are those taking his photos, his pictures, his videos? These are concerning things. And these are all new normals. Everyone has a tablet. Every kids have a tablet nowadays. iPads, tablets, all this thing. How many of those apps are actually tracking them? That's so important. And talking about data, British Council last year, their 144000, 144,000 files of student records, they were exposed. Cyber criminals are after those data because, as I said, it's expensive. And if you don't have a good security posture, they are easily available for them. They hack into your system, they exfiltrate the data. Previously, ransomware was come in, apply encryption, ask for money. That was ransomware. But organization understood that and they were focusing on backups and all those things. So that's why cyber criminals, they are a smart group of people. They just changed their strategy. Now from 2020 onward, they first exfiltrate the data, then apply a ransomware. You will apply your backup, good, I still have your data. You will still hold that ransom because otherwise I will take the data and I will publish it to the public. So, and I know some of the charities work with very, very sensitive data. You work with vulnerable people and their data are so sensitive. So it's very important. Data breach should be one of in charity sector's #1 threat to consider. So the big question is, I am a small charity. Will cyber criminal target me? The simple answer is yes. Rather than saying why yes, I have taken some stats. Now, this is a stats of an insurance claim to show you that most of the insurance claim, which this is not just Zurich, this is net diligence. They collect information from all different sector, all different carriers. Which is like, which even has Zurich North America, it has others like Chubb, Hiscox and others, okay. And they produce a report which shows the claims are mostly in the SME sector, in the small sector. That produces the most amount of claim. It's not the big ones. So less than a sort of $2 billion revenue, that gets the most amount of it, okay. So another very important report is the DCMS Cybersecurity Breach Survey. Every year, DCMS come up with this report, which shows that last year, this is last year's report. I don't think they have published this year's report yet. So 30% of UK charities identified cyber attack in the last 12 months, and 87% of the charities reporting phishing attempt. Phishing is still by far the biggest attack vector. So phishing, targeting your users. So it all depends what you are dealing, how you are dealing with your end users. Are you making them your strong link or your weakest link? Because that's what is most important. Before you think about any technology, okay, I can tell you, I work with like hundreds of clients every day. No client is secure by buying one piece of product. Cybersecurity is a combination of people, process, and technology. So people is the most important thing. 23% identified more sophisticated attack like denial of services, malwares, or ransomware type of attacks. Another thing to understand is that you will see that if you go to that report, you will see that small organizations or small charities, okay, they have reported less number of attacks, whereas higher one has reported more number of attacks. So does that mean that how bigger you are more a target? No, perhaps the smaller you are, you don't have the ability to find out that you are being attacked. So that is also a possibility. So I have talked about the threat. I have talked about the problems, what's happening. Let's talk about like cyber risk management. Okay, so how can you manage these risks? So I have given it a tagline. So this is like, treat cyber risk as a business risk, like your financial risk, not as IT risk. Okay, it's definitely IT will be part of it, but treat cyber risk as any other business risk. Okay, you are concerned about ESG. I can tell you cyber is very important part of ESG. Okay. There are loads of articles in the market you can go and read. Even we are producing some articles to show like why cyber is part of ESG. So it's very important. Even well-being, cyber is so much well-being is so much dependent with cyber. Okay, so treat it as a business risk. So let's dig a little bit deeper into what is risk. Okay, I'm not going to definition, but we like to think risk as risk is dependent on three different things. One is hazards. So what are hazards? Hazards are like the nation state actors, the cyber criminal, your insider threats. They kind of controls what is the risk in your organization. Because sometimes if you have a new nation state strategy, now you recently our geopolitical state changed with the Russia-Ukraine war, your risk increased. Why it increased? Because the hazard kind of changed. Okay, so hazard definitely has a big impact on risk. The next one is your exposure. So what is your exposures? Exposures are your sensitive data. Exposures are your digital systems, your electronic funds which you are taking, your business environment. So all these are exposures which you get. So if you are an organization who is collecting a lot of sensitive data, sometimes which can be, what's the word for it? The medical records. So of the medical records and those kind of data, or like more sensitive data, your exposure is much higher. Okay, if you are very much dependent on digital system, everything is connected, your exposures are higher. So you have to understand, what do I have? That's always the starting point of cyber risk management. What constitutes my environment? Not just the internal environment, but what are the other external factors which I require to run my business? That's the starting point always for any risk management. So these two are exposures and hazards which I talk about. Now, how do you control the risk? You control the risk with controls, with treatments. Because when you are doing risk assessment, you have to think about, what is my chance of getting attacked? That depends upon that hazards and the exposure. But how many of those attacks can actually end up being an incident? So you can use controls or treatments to manage that. You have to apply good treatments or good controls to actually control how many of the attacks which you are facing actually becomes an incident. Because if you have a cyber attack and your processes or like say for example, someone drops you an email and asks for money. And if you have a good process of like checking like multiple checks and stuff, to more than one people will verify, approve that before you actually pay the money. No technology involved in it, very much a process driven thing. That's you. That attack hasn't become an incident. But if you don't have a good process where you say like, oh, someone got a fished, could you please pay this much amount of money? And they just initiated £5,000. That's a fraud. That's attack. That's done a fund gone from your bank account. To solve the problem, you need good controls, which is not a technology. See, all I'm trying to tell you is that cyber is not just 4 pieces of technology, a firewall, antivirus, which will kind of solve all your problem. It's not that. They definitely are important, okay, but processes and peoples are equally important. So controls. So what are the controls? What are the treatments? So can you see the headings with this? Oh, sorry. So controls, what I've written out there: encourage systematic resilience. So resilience, that's the most important word. Everyone will be under attack. I am not aware of a single organization who will not have a cyber attack, who won't even have that one small phishing attempt from HMRC or DVLA. Everyone will be under attack. So what you have to do is apply treatment so you are more resilient. Don't think just about security. Think about resilience. Minimize the impact. That's the most important one. If tomorrow, if I have an attack and that actually becomes an incident, how can I minimize the impact of the incident? That's what should be the whole idea of controls. So what I've done, I have talked about a few key controls, the must-have controls. So the first one is it goes back to, if you remember in our new normal side, I was saying what is the first one? Remote working. So when we now, as I said, since we work outside our castle, our office, our identity, who we are, our user account, our passwords, and those have become our perimeter. Our perimeter is no more that secure firewall, or previously when we used to go and work in office, IT team, our network team used to put like very good firewalls around the access and everything. So you go in, log into a desktop, you know it's secure. But now you are outside. You are tunneling in. Sorry, I'm going a bit technical, but you are sort of connecting in from outside your organization, from inside your organization. So the most important thing out there is your identity. So that's why the very important thing after finding out what you have within your business environment is secure the identity and access management. So some of the good practices are have multi-factor authentication. 5 or 6 years back, MFA was something which you need to put. It is to cost you money. Nowadays, almost every system comes with MFA. So if you have option of MFA, definitely enable MFA. Don't disable MFA. MFA is so important. So you know what is multi-factor authentication. So that's basically your phone will get a text or a call or whatever you are comfortable with. It will get that extra check before you can actually log in. And MFA for remote access is sort of a must-have thing. You definitely need MFA for remote access because it goes back to remote working. You are connecting in from outside. Other things are privilege access management. So what is privilege access management? Within your organization, we always encourage have the principle of least user privilege. So what is the principle of least user privilege? If you don't need access, don't have access. Okay, so that is have the least amount of access which you require to run your day-to-day business. That's the principle of least user privilege. Gone are those days where like I have full-blown access into the environment, I can do everything. No, that makes you more vulnerable. Okay, if you have more access. So if you need more access to do changes within the organizations like the IT team or system admin, if you're using a SaaS-based system, maybe your HR, one or two member of your HR needs to make some customization, add new forms. Those are extra privilege, but which everyone doesn't need. So make sure those privileges are properly defined. And the extra privilege one definitely has multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication, everything goes back to multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication is so important. So take care of your privileged users. The next one is, so I have talked a little bit of technology out here. Okay, so, but the next one is more about like user awareness, strategy, and phishing mitigation. People, as I said, people, process, technology, the three different things for cyber risk treatment. In the people part, what is your user awareness strategy? Is it first one, like the worst thing can be you don't have a strategy. You just don't do user awareness. Next thing can be like you do an annual training for every users, and which there are enough stats to show that doesn't help. People are more keen on finishing that 1 hour exercise and continuing with their day job rather than actually learn from it. So you have to understand what is the metrics, or what is telling me the success of telling, how are you measuring success? Yeah, that's the word. How are you measuring success for user awareness? What is your user awareness strategy? How you measure success? And then what are your phishing mitigations? Last year in NCVO's this session, I talked about like phishing mitigation. So I don't know whether it's available or not, but I very much encourage you to follow what NCSC is telling you to do. National Cyber Security Center, they have a very nice strategy. Simple, very effective. Okay, think about different layers. The first layer is how will you stop cyber criminals from actually knowing about you, stop the reconnaissance. Then if an attack happens, what technology suite you have to stop it. And then the final fourth layer thinks about like, okay, attack has happened, how will you deal with it? Okay, so just Google like NCS in the National Cyber Security Center and phishing. They have this nice diagram. So I'm not saying that's the only one you can use. There are millions of strategies. You can have your own strategy how you will do phishing mitigation. But phishing mitigation is not just a phishing simulation which you carry out every year. Phishing mitigation is educating users to spot phishing. Very importantly, report phishing. I have seen organizations who come and tell me that, oh, we are doing great with phishing. It was 40% in the Q1, 40% people clicked on a link, then it became 20%. Now we are at 7% who clicked on a link. I don't think that is a good measurement of your success. Your good measurement of your success will be how many people before clicking on the link has actually told you, I have a fish in my inbox. That kind of shows that people understand. There are people who doesn't read all the emails. So by measuring how many people have clicked on it and looking at how low it is, that I don't think is a good measurement. A good measurement is how high you have of people who reported I have phishing. If you have 7% reported, if 7% clicked on the link, can you demonstrate that 90% out of that 93% has actually reported that I have a phishing? That is a good stats to have. If you have only stats 7% have clicked on the link, that's not a good stats to have. Doesn't tell you anything. So yeah, user awareness. Think about users. That's the most important thing. The next one is proactive detection. Now, whenever I talk about detection, people think about like SIM, SOC, all those things. Yeah, I'm talking about that. But why not? Why not be more proactive with cyber? It's not expensive these days. There were times when I was in NHS and we were looking into SIM and SOC. They were expensive that part. Nowadays, it's not that expensive to have like a proactive detection in place. So have that. We have proactive detection for other type of risk within our business environment. You have your fire alarms. You have your carbon monoxide alarm. You have cameras everywhere. Why? That's another kind of risk treatment which you are doing. But why not for cyber? When your whole environment is digital, everyone is connected to everyone digitally. So have proactive detection in place. Some managed SIM, managed SOC, very simple to implement. Nowadays, who will analyze your log and it will tell you something is going wrong. Same as your all the cameras which you have in your building, your CCTVs and everything, something is going wrong. That's proactive detection. Regular vulnerabilities and patch management, very important thing. Understand, it again goes back to what assets do I have? What constitutes my environment? The A, B, C, D, E, which belongs to me, and X, Y, Z, which doesn't belong to me, actually constitutes my environment. Okay, where are the vulnerabilities? Am I doing regular scan to find out that these are the vulnerabilities? I have 7 windows in my house. Maybe every night I forget to close one window. That window can be used for someone to come inside my house and rob my house. So it's very important to know about your vulnerabilities. And patch. Every second Tuesday, Microsoft comes up with patch. Apply those patch, no exceptions. So patch management, so important. The next one is ransomware protected and appropriately tested backups. Why ransomware protected? Because backups, if possible, have like tape backup, like more like offline. I shouldn't say tape, sorry, more offline backup, which can be tape backup. Okay, so more offline backup. That's so important. Where you have a copy of a backup which is not connected to your main environment. It is away from your main environment, so that if your main environment is compromised, is encrypted, you can recover things from that non-connected or offline backup. And don't just have a backup, test the backup. Having a backup doesn't give you any comfort that things will work when you have a cyber attack. Test it. Testing is very, very, very important. That brings me to regular cyber incident response testing. It's like fire drill. Everyone does fire drill. Every organization does fire drill. I am not aware of any organization who doesn't do fire drill. So why not cyber drill? Are we doing enough cyber drill? Bring everyone in a room and come up with a situation. We do quite a lot of these with our clients. Give them a situation and let them talk. Maybe you will find out a gap, which right now you are assuming is not there, but it's so important. That's why we do fire drill, isn't it? We want to find out what's the gap, which we don't want to miss out when the actual fire happens. Similarly, everybody has to do cyber drill. So yeah, sorry, I already talked about it. Know your business environment across all the things is so important. What constitutes your environment? So that. And the last thing, very, very important thing, senior management support. Senior management support is so important because senior managers set the direction of travel for a cyber resilient business. So I won't go through the whole slide. The slides will be shared with you. So that's why what I have done, I have gone through all the different frameworks which is applicable in UK. Like you have ICO talking about something, your National Cybersecurity Center talking about NCSC-CAF, the Cyber Assessment Framework, ISO 27001, the Cabinet Office, Her Majesty's Government Security Policy Framework. So I have collected all the different things which these frameworks are asking about senior management. So the board or the highest senior management level, they have the overall responsibility for data protection and information governance. That's why we have a DPO, a data protection officer. It became a regulatory requirement to have one. Someone who is responsible at the end of the day. You can go back to that person and ask a question. Have the same thing for cyber. There should be a senior level accountability for the security of network and information system. I'm not saying the senior manager has to go and change a firewall rule, but they need to ensure all the firewall rule which has been applied, they are perfect. They are checked properly. They are being tested properly with delegated decision-making authority. That's fine. But someone like a DPO, have a cyber DPO. They need to set the direction from the board. Okay. So as I said, and also like organizations should establish roles and responsibilities for security of network and information secure system at all levels. It's very important that a risk is identified. Don't just say, I have a cyber risk. If you say that, how will you treat the risk? There can be 150, 180 to 200 different controls which you need to think about. So you cannot prioritize that control. Think about which particular risk, which can be, I have that system, PQR within my organization, who is using an old version of software. They are no more supported. That system makes my environment very, very vulnerable. I need to prioritize that treatment. So your cyber risk right now revolves around that system. And this needs to go from the IT level to the senior management level. So your strategic level is talking about what we need to do to fix that particular risk, to treat that risk. Then you are actually treating the risk. If you just say like, I have a cyber risk, that's it. How I'm treating it? Oh, I have antivirus, I have this, that. Maybe you will miss that particular risk because you are not very structured. You are not going from, this is my risk, this is how I need to treat. There can be 20 cyber risks which your board is talking about, and you are prioritizing out there within the cyber risk. This is what I need to spend money. And final thing is that board must take part in the cyber incident response exercise. If you have a ransomware within your business, your IT doesn't take the decision of paying or not. So that's why, and also there are so many other things which is board's responsibility, senior management responsibility. If you have gold level, silver level, bronze level, a lot of organizations have, it goes to that silver gold kind of level to make those decisions. IT will do the things. The decision has to be from that senior level who will tell them, yeah, you can go ahead and chop that wire. A few stats goes back to the DCMS report. 72% board see cybersecurity as high priority, 42% board cyber in a quarterly basis. That's quite low. And 26% of board members have responsibility for cybersecurity. That's significantly low. There is no one in the board who is actually accountable for cyber. Again, I'm saying that person doesn't have to do hands-on cyber. It's more accountability to ensure cyber risks are identified, escalated properly, and talked properly and treated properly. I have given 2 articles out here. One is like why cyber should be a priority for every boardroom. That's something which I produce for with Zurich. And another one which is very important. I know everyone talks about ESG right now. World Economic Forum came up with this article. Cybersecurity is an ESG issue. Here's why. Please read it. Excellent article to read. There are the links. Okay, that brings me to very quickly, how can Zurich help? So as I said, I represent Zurich Resilience Solutions. So we are the risk advisory divisions of Zurich. So Zurich cyber services are, first of all, we have insurance, which is Zurich's main service, the insurance. And then we have Zurich Resilience Solutions, which complements our insurance offers. So we help organizations to get more resilient, provide cyber risk advisory services. And also we use strategic partners to provide more state-of-art technology. We have a lot of technology offerings like managed detections and those kind of a thing, which we don't provide, but we have different partners across the world which we use. So depending upon where you are, if you are in USA, we have different partner. In UK, we have different partner. So that's the whole combination of our Zurich cyber offering. A little bit into ZRS. So Zurich Resilience Solutions, we are about 750 risk engineers. That's what we are called, the risk engineers. We deal with risk. That's not just cyber. That's like cyber and other type of property, liability, or the type of risk. So we provide technical expertise, customer-centric expertise, industry specialism. We like just my cyber team has public sector background, financial sector background, manufacturing background, pharmaceutical background. So we bring in a lot of different expertise. And we do a lot of things for customers. So as I said, our solutions is not just cyber. We provide liability, defensibility. We provide cyber resilience services, climate change. One of the new things which we are providing, but that's a very big team which we have now, providing climate change and sustainability services, supply chain risk management. We provide that not just for cyber. This is for the overall supply chain. Property, energy, well-being. We have specialist risk consultants for well-being, motor, organization resilience, enterprise risk management. We provide a lot of different services for any kind of risk management. Since I represent cyber, I had this final slide where I want to talk about what we do in cyber. We provide a lot of different services. Okay, and we call it the cyber AMP, assess, manage, protect. So one of the things which we do is cyber health check, which is like your MOT, a cyber MOT. You take your car for MOT every year. Do you take your business for a cyber MOT? If not, then why is it? How do you make sure it is roadworthy? So we do a cyber MOT. We do things like policy review, compliance certifications, penetration testings, these kind of a thing we do. Another thing which we are doing quite a lot in the last 6 months is cyber incident response planning and exercise. These are your fire drills. So helping you to run your fire drill, your cyber drills, kind of challenging your existing plan and finding out gaps in the plan so that you can implement that continuous improvement. Other things are like cyber supply chain framework development. We do something called a cyber red team exercise. So what is a red team exercise? Someone comes and try to break into your environment and put a ransomware in an environment and see how strong it is. It's actually someone hacking into your environment to see if they can actually laterally escalate east-west and plant a ransomware. And finally, we do things like cyber awareness program and product development, leadership awareness. I work quite a lot with senior management, trying to make them more aware about cyber risk, or the risk management team, how to identify cyber risk and go from that risk to treatment. And yeah, manage cyber detection and response. We provide that. That's a very important thing that we provide, the managed detection. Those are your CCTVs for cyber. We provide that. And also, if someone is under attack, the first question is what happens then? Who comes and help me to come out of the attack? I don't have any ability, any technical abilities or forensic capabilities to carry out those analysis. We can help you with that. We can provide you specialist critical friend to carry out forensic and also bring you out of the situation. So all I want to say, like ZRS, we provide risk advisory services. We provide a lot of services, from technology services, policy services, people management services. So if you have any need, feel free to get in touch with me. Connect in LinkedIn if you want. I'm quite active in LinkedIn, and thanks for listening. I'm very happy to take any questions which you might have.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Aaron. We've kind of got 10 minutes for kind of a Q&A, and we've had a couple of kind of questions that have kind of come in, a couple on the chat, but then some others in the kind of Q&A function as well. You might have kind of addressed this when you spoke about kind of doing that kind of cyber drill kind of with your kind of colleagues and with, like, within your organization. But are you aware of any other online resources that kind of people can use as kind of tools that they can kind of take to their teams, so that you don't just feel that you're kind of instructing people and telling them what to do, but you're kind of coaching and training them to kind of come around? Do you know of any kind of alternative strategies?
Yeah, see, in UK, we are very lucky to have NCSC. I always say this, National Cyber Security Center. National Cyber Security Center has products like active cyber defense. Okay, I will encourage every one of you to go through that active cyber defense products. It is a suite of product, and one of the products are exercise in a box, which helps you, which gives you that exact situations and helps you to run a drill. Okay, that won't be tailored towards your environment because it's a generic situation. What we do, we make a situation which is tailored to your environment, but still, it's a very good starting point. Exercise in a box. And active cyber defense, that is the name of the whole suite. It has loads of other products. Use it. They are free for your sectors. Most of them are free for your sectors. Okay. And I know definitely for public sectors, everything is free, but you have to check how much is free for your sector. But it's a brilliant suite of products. So that's one thing which I will recommend to use. Cyber Aware, they have loads of materials for even NCSC. NCSC has loads of material for user awareness. I will encourage you to go and read them and also distribute among your users.
Perfect. And I think Sophie's just been popping a couple of links to the things that Aaron was kind of talking about kind of in the chat, which we'll include in the follow-up email. And then I think maybe the next kind of question links back to kind of what you said earlier on about the kind of potential kind of knock-on effects of someone in the supply chain being kind of targeted, or them having an attack. And so kind of someone went along to some cybersecurity training a couple of weeks ago, and at that training they said that if they had documents stored in the cloud, so such like Google Drive or an MS Office, there's little need for offline backups because their security is high. Is that the right advice, or should you always make sure that you have kind of your documents kind of backed up offline?
All these cloud providers, they provide a lot of security features, but are you enabling all the security features? So that's what you have to see. Like, I was working with a client day before yesterday who said that they are using one of these cloud features, but they are not using multi-factor authentication. And I was thinking, like, why? Because their business doesn't want to have extra, like, businesses looks into that as like, it's not easy, or like it's creating more barriers to run the day-to-day business. If you think like that, then that is not secure. Now, remember what I started the presentation by saying, you are going cloud, you are going digital migrations. Has your risk changed or increased or decreased? It all depends upon how you are treating the risk. If Google is giving you 10 different security controls, you understand the controls, apply the controls, have right processes with it, that's great. Remember, like these companies, they are providing you a lot of different security features for you to enable or to use. If you don't use it, you are not secure. You cannot go back to Google and say, like, I put your thing, or any other provider, I put your stuff in your environment, I'm still got hacked. They will say, yes, you never configured the accesses properly, you never had multi-factor authentication. Don't blame me if you get hacked. So that will be the exact scenario. In terms of uptime and downtime, I know Azure talks about 98 or 99% uptime. So that's the uptime they are taking care of. That comes with you using that product. Okay. But in terms of within that particular environment where you have the data or the system, how you are configuring access, whether you are disabling a multi-factor authentication or not, or if they give you some kind of a monitoring, and all this, most of these cloud products comes with some kind of monitoring features. Okay, if you decide not to enable them, you are not secure. If you enable all of them, I'm not saying all of them, if you enable the right one, because it's a systematic resilience, it has to be very systematic. You have to understand, because a lot of changes can also have a cultural impact within your business, so you have to measure that and implement that. It's very easy to say go and implement everything, but someone who comes from a public sector background knows it's challenging. It's very, very challenging to do. Like one good example is, I used to deal with A&E, accidental emergency. Even getting 2 minutes from accidental emergency in a live accidental emergency for anything security was a challenge. Obviously, so they will say, I'm dealing with a broken skull. You want me to learn this security thing for you? That's more priority for me. Prioritize, understand.
Perfect, thank you. And then we've got a question related to the last slide that you were just on. Is the cyber AMP service suited to very small charities, such as those with a turnover of 150,000 a year or smaller?
Yes, these are not like an online thing which you have to go and use. These are human beings who will tailor or services for your need. So our services are very much bespoke. We like try to understand where you are, where you need to go. Okay, you might have aspiration. We can guide you. We can bring market insight. That's what we bring. What does external consultant bring? They bring market insight for you. If you implement this risk should be prioritized. You have 2 red risks. Which one will you prioritize? Always a big question. Both are red. If you go for like the 5x5 matrix, both are 20 maybe. Which one will you prioritize? So we help you to prioritize that, and our services are very much bespoke, tailored to your needs. So yeah, definitely. If you are small, like what if I don't, you can be very small, but we can help you. And we have clients in that particular. What was the revenue that you talked about, Nick?
It was a cyber AMP.
No. What was the financial value which you were talking?
Oh, 150,000 turnover.
150,000. Yeah, we can definitely.
Perfect. And just going to link to that as well, I was just going to say, Zurich Insurance are one of NCVO's trusted suppliers, and NCVO members do get a discount when they kind of follow the portal kind of through from the NCVO trusted supplier pages over to Zurich, or just have a conversation with them, let them know that you are an NCVO member, and there's kind of definitely kind of deals to be had, and I'm sure there's kind of there's some free kind of advice that they are able to offer you as well. But kind of at 5 to 10, sadly, I think that's probably all the time that we have got for the kind of Q&A today. I just wanted to run through a couple of kind of final bits of resources and signposting that I can kind of share with you all now. Bear with me 1 second. Yes, so here we go. So there's a few bits of kind of online kind of guidance from NCVO, including beyond the basics in cybersecurity and 5 steps to cybersecurity that every group needs. Links to that are being posted in the chat now and will be included in the follow-up email. There's also a Zurich Insights article titled "Why Cyber Risk Should Be a Priority for Every Boardroom," which contains signposting to further support and help offered by Zurich themselves. As Aaron has mentioned, there's a report by the National Cybersecurity Centre that looks at phishing and ransomware being a significant threat to the charity sector. And finally, a guide for small charities on how to improve their cybersecurity. Of course, any questions that you can't find the answer to, you are more than welcome to contact NCVO's Small Charity Help Desk, and their telephone number and their email address is up on the slide now. So links to everything I've mentioned have been shared in the chat and will include in the follow-up email. But just before we wrap up, Sophie is going to launch a 2-question snap poll to get your immediate response to today's webinar. This is completely anonymous and will appear on your screen any second now. And we're posting a link to a SurveyMonkey evaluation as well, where you can provide further feedback on the things you liked and what could be improved or what you'd like to gain more information on. So one other thing to highlight, if you're not yet a member of NCVO and you would like to find out more about becoming a member, you can find out more information on our website. We'd love to have you join our community of over 17,000 organisations, from the biggest household charities to the smallest community groups. And for our members, you're at the heart of everything that we do. We exist to make your life easier so that you can focus on changing people's lives and making our community stronger and more resilient. Again, just in the chat or in the follow-up email, we'll include a link to how you can find out more about the benefits of becoming a member at NCVO. But before we sign off, on behalf of my colleagues at NCVO, I'd like to give a special thanks to Aaron for his time and expertise today. And obviously a huge thank you to you too for joining us online this morning. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we look forward to seeing you again in the near future.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks all.